Call meeting in order, 4:32. And did everybody have an opportunity to read the previous board meeting?
Move to approve as written.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
And Joe, can we have the treasurer's report?
Yep.
Please.
You've got it in your packet. If you just under the right thing, you're spending money. It's a good thing. Because that means that you actually meet our deadlines. You can see where the figures are. I don't think there's a question on the setup that's there. What's not reported, not showing on here is the interest. And in the month of April, we earned over $3,600 in interest, which means that we've gotten just over 14,500 so far this year. And if we keep on keeping the same amounts, we'll get somewhere over $40,000 in interest this year, based on the projections. It's there. I don't know whether we're going to get more solid money or not, but as you can see, we've got nearly $1.9 million sitting there. As I say, we're spending money at a reasonable rate, so I don't think we should have any problem getting our funding requirements. Anybody have any questions on the finance report? Seeing none, I'll move the report.
Second. All in favor? Aye.
Okay.
The executive director report.
All right, so just a brief update to piggyback on Joe's treasurer's report of where we are with our open HCR grants. So our land bank operations, this is our $200,000 for administrative. We have spent just under $124,000 of that so far. So we're on pace to spend that. That contract runs through August of 2026. And I imagine that after the state budget is passed, there will be another round of those funds, I hope, opening up for us to apply again. And so we'll be, well underway to having spent down our current allocation. Our land bank capital, which is our 2024 project funding, our contract did expire in the beginning of April, and I have requested an extension through September of this year. And that just has to do with some of the delays with environmental approvals on the Van View Townhome project, Schenectady Habitat projects, and the BCNI Mount Pleasant infill project. They all had federal money in them, and the federal approvals, the Van View did not, but that had some complicated state environmental approvals due to some of the prior uses of the site. So those were delayed, but all of the funds that are remaining are allocated and earmarked, and we are spending. So I don't anticipate any trouble meeting that September extension deadline. And our most recent land bank property services grant, we did just receive the environmental approval on that this past month. And that's the programmatic for the full grant award. And we're working through the administrative plan with Better Community Neighborhoods on how we'll actually implement the repair funds specifically. And then some of the projects that we'll talk about this evening are planned for this fund. So we'll be approving hopefully some of those projects. Any questions on grants before I move on?
How many extensions are you allowed? So if they don't comply.
So I'm not sure, because in past rounds of land bank initiative funding, they actually had been extending our prior contract rather than issuing a new contract. And then the section of the budget where the land bank initiative funds are allocated or where they're coming from has changed. So it used to be the funds came from aid to municipalities. Now it's coming from the capital budget, and those have different requirements. And so when that change happened, they put us on new contracts. And so this is the first time that we've ever had to request an extension, because in the past they had, with our new allocation of funding, added it to the old contract and then just automatically extended it. But I don't think it's a problem. We've made substantial progress. We're over 60% spent on that grant, and the projects that we have earmarked funds for all have been through now their environmental approval. So they know that they're in process. So I don't anticipate there's going to be any issue, and I don't anticipate we'll need any further extension past this.
What was the dollar amount of that projects, do we know?
Well, for Habitat's projects, their build costs were somewhere in the ballpark of 270 per unit. We were offering about 50 of that, and the rest was coming from CDBG and home money that's federal, filtered through the city. So I don't know. I don't want to put Alex on the spot. She might know better than me, but the bulk of those project funds were federal dollars.
Based on all the multiple projects cited for that.
Yep, so that's their Rankin Avenue project and the 2 Landon Terrace projects. So they're both underway. 6 Landon is actually coming along really well, and we have released some of our funds on that. We just did our first release of funds on the Rankin Avenue project. So those are moving. They're not stalled up any longer. They just went past our grant date because of the delay with environmental approvals. Yeah. Any other questions on these open grants? Okay. So another update is we, as you all know, applied for Move in New York funds to do 22 single family infill projects across Schenectady and Amsterdam. That award was on the agenda for the HTFC board today, but I've been in meetings all day, so I actually don't know what the result is, but I'm guessing that we're going to get our final award notification soon. I'll go back and watch the recording tomorrow after I do our minutes. But so that's in process, and we've been making good progress on all of the pre-development stuff that's needed to happen. So starting to clear the sites, we've done procurement to get someone out there to do rubbish and brush removal. We've been working through that. All of the surveys are done. Now they're going to set the corners on all of the parcels and start filing subdivisions. We received one of our mini bids back from the producers of these homes. The other, the deadline, they asked for an extension and HCR granted them an extension. So that extension goes to tomorrow. So the one other producer has until tomorrow at 4 p.m. to respond. And then we'll make our selection of which producers we want to use for which site. And then that will inform the final grant award amount. So they gave us, as a goal, not to exceed 275,000 per unit. The first bid that came in, they're going to keep within that not to exceed number. So the maximum amount of that grant would be a little over $6 million at that 275 per unit.
Progress.
Couple of other project updates. I updated you on Habitat, Amsterdam Habitat. They actually had a ribbon cutting ceremony for the house. Through some communication error, we were left off the invitation list.
That was on the iPad.
Yeah. So that was kind of disappointing. They did come and offer their sincere apologies for missing that. But I said, when you break ground on their next project, which will be next door, make sure to include us, and we'd love to come and celebrate that, and also, congratulate the homeowners next door. The Legacy City project in Amsterdam, they have identified a buyer and scheduled closing on the last property, which is very exciting. That's been a long time in the making. And so AIK is working diligently there. On their Summit Ave project in Schenectady, sidewalks and porches are being completed on the phase 2 properties. And they are securing contracts and working through that. And so they have a lot of these homes have committed buyers, and they just are waiting to get their CVO in order to be able to execute an actual sales contract on them. Vanview Town. No, go ahead.
Richard says the Metroplex suite door is locked.
Oh, well, I can, go lock it in.
There's a, when I came,
Oh, yeah, it's open.
nobody else saw it, but yeah.
That'll be on the bottom.
I think it's on, yeah,
Oh, maybe.
There we
Oh,
the cleaning girls down.
I thought you meant downstairs.
Yeah. Here. Hey, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Vice Chair, how are you, sir?
Actually, you're earlier than 20 minutes. You're good.
I just took the media, ran over nuts. I assumed I was already sorry that I was going to chase them. Well, now, I mean, this is important, Joe. Okay, I needed to get there.
All right. And then I am starting to pull together our next demolition project. It will be a small one. We have 2 full structure demolitions, one for the Mount Pleasant infill project, another that's a city-owned building on a non-buildable, a non-conforming lot. It's well past, being a candidate for rehab. And so we'll be taking that down, and then some accessory structures that remain on some of the parcels that are earmarked for move in New York. And so we've done all of our ESAs on those, and we're getting, site assessments done. We'll be pulling that package together with a goal of having it go live on June 1st. And then my last note is just I mentioned we were accepted into the Center for Community Progress's learning cohort to try to create a program to better utilize the housing choice voucher program through HUD to convert renters, rental subsidies into homeownership subsidies. And so we had our first session today with the Newark Land Bank and the Center for Community Progress to hear about how they've successfully implemented this program. We have 4 more sessions, and then we have the opportunity to do a couple of technical assistance sessions with the CP folks. And so thank you to Alex also and her team at the city for participating, and the housing authorities both in Amsterdam and Schenectady are participating, as well as BCNet. So we have a good cohort. And that's it.
So thank you, everyone, for starting the meeting. I appreciate it. Do I need to do anything? Do I need to just? You need to
Turn
get
it
over
over.
me?
Turn it over to you, Mike.
Okay, thank you.
So we are on number 5, our first resolution for consideration.
Super. Can I just have a quick question on the subsidy conversion? I think that's great, right? I think the board, I think we all want to see rental turn into homeownership. I think that the neighborhood is improved. Any neighborhood is improved when that happens. Was there a success story that they could share with us, or is all this in pilot mode across the state?
So the city of Newark is the first land bank in the state of New Jersey, and they formed and almost immediately kind of hit the ground running with this project. So they have closed on 12 homes so far. And this was taking vacant, blighted properties that were owned by the city of Newark, transferred to the land bank, and then rehabbed. So they're not doing new rehabs. And so they've closed on 11, and I think they said they had like 18 in the pipe.
Right.
And this is just, within the first couple of years.
Yeah, that's great. So maybe I didn't ask the right. So that's rental subsidy to homeowner subsidy?
Yes.
That they took that housing stock and said, I'm going to invest in it, and I'm going to turn it into kind of a habitat or a BCNI. We're going to create warm, safe housing, affordable housing, and then how does that subsidy turn into homeownership? So
the owner would have been using a housing choice voucher to pay a portion of their rent under what's commonly called Section 8 program,
Yep,
right?
Sure.
So that rent subsidy, the amount of the rent subsidy then converts to a mortgage subsidy. And so instead of paying the landlord, they pay the lender.
Yeah. Okay.
And it's good for 15 years. We've had success stories in Schenectady, but not a robust program where we're putting out large amount of numbers. So our current Schenectady Municipal Housing Authority, they do turn their rental vouchers into homeownership vouchers, but it's very slow.
Okay.
We've done about 6, I think they said, at the housing authority
That they have.
in Schenectady.
that we could.
I've probably been involved in all 6 of those.
Yeah.
Okay, great, then we've got all our experience on the
Yeah.
table.
That's very.
So we
Alex
can
may have been able to
supercharge this.
lead today's session, but she came on as a participant.
That's great.
But the voucher is good for 15 years. They have to be in good standing. They
Okay.
need to still work with our partners at BCI to complete housing counseling. And that voucher also goes towards their income when they go to get approved for the mortgage.
Wow.
So,
So that's, so that
Win-win.
it changes the PITI conversation.
mhm.
Oh, that's fantastic.
And
So we certainly have,
if I may, is there good training, for the tenant or the occupancy when they go through this process?
I think BCI is a very reputable and solid partner to do that work.
In Amsterdam, do you know who the contact is, who you're dealing with at Amsterdam?
The executive director of the Housing Authority, Damaris.
Damaris
Yeah.
Carver.
And Dan Gray also from the city is participating in the cohort as well. So we have the development department of both cities, we have the housing authority, we have BCNI as the counseling partner, which works in both municipalities, and the land bank as potentially the conduit to acquire and prepare sites for development.
so right now, we have a greenfield of pipeline, no pipeline, but maybe lots of opportunity. Because we certainly have a lot of Section 8 voucher recipients in the city of Schenectady and in the city of Amsterdam, right,
Yes.
through the municipality authority. You know, population, right? Kathy?
Yeah, what about, Section 8 recipients outside the city of Schenectady County?
I think that we could extend whatever we come up with and kind of figure out in terms of a system and a program. I think we could extend to our whole service
Certainly a
district.
number outside, yeah, a large number outside the city.
Yeah,
Their
absolutely.
voucher probably comes through Schenectady Housing.
No, I think there was a separate independent contractor, I believe, that was outside the state. My info may be old.
Yeah.
No, 6 years old.
But still, it's a federal Section 8.
That's what it used to be.
Was a separate entity, someone
Yeah,
else.
And I think it was out of Saratoga that actually managed. I can't remember the
At
name.
one point, Mastriani was.
Yeah, so I don't know who it is now.
Yeah, so I think we wanted to get a cohort together so we could kind of learn what
And then open
best
it up.
practices are, how this case study went. And then once we were fortunate to be able to do it with both Amsterdam and Schenectady's housing authority, but certainly this could be replicable across our service area.
This is great. So you see this as a first quarter 27, a next year activity we learn for the remainder of 26, and then talk about how to forecast and put it into our plan and pipeline for 27, 28.
That's the goal, yeah.
Okay, that's fantastic. Thank you both for leaning into that. I think that's great use of public funds to improve from rental day to day to, home ownership,
I
right?
think that's really our mission.
And rent to own, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, okay, very good. Thank you guys for letting me extend that conversation. So, we have 5 items for board consideration tonight, starting with resolution 2026-11. And this is our land bank initiative with BCNI. Kristen, can you summarize?
I can. So as I mentioned in our grant update, this most recent round of land bank initiative funds includes an earmark for property services or repair services. Because BCNI already administers repair funds on behalf of the city, they have some state funds, they have some federal funds, so they're already doing this work. We are planning to kind of lean into that existing administrative infrastructure and to enter into a service agreement to allow them to administer those funds on our behalf. And so what that looks like would be a dedicated rehab specialist who would go out and actually do kind of the site inspection, scope development, and then also some support for, the time that it takes to actually do the grants administration, the compliance, the submittals, and all of that. And so some of this will come from program delivery funds in our land bank property services grant, and the balance of it would come from that admin grant, the land bank initiative admin grant. And these costs were factored into our annual operating budget. That was considered in,
This was part of our original forecast,
yes,
and this is us executing on that forecast.
yes.
Any questions? Why are we not taking this on ourselves?
Because me as a staff of one person does not have the capacity or really the knowledge to,
Because you're,
To do that.
you're paying for an additional staff person there. We've done that before. We've had a project manager. We've had project managers before. And that has been useful for us to be able to do. I'm not saying anything against BNI. I think it's more capacity building for us.
so I think that they have the infrastructure for this, right? They already have an intake portal. They have a wait list of potential projects. They have a position and someone to oversee that position that can actually do this scope development. And so I really see this even from the point of application, I really saw us delving into property services as being able to better coordinate and expand upon something that's already working. So BCNI is administering a lot of these types of funds, all of which are capped at households that are 80% or less of AMI. Our funds are able to go up to 120%. So we can now take a pipeline that already exists where people already know to go to look for these repair funds, and they will be able to say yes to people who they otherwise would have had to say no to, rather than us try to create something where now you're going to the land bank, or if you get a no from BCNI, now you go and you apply to the land bank. It's kind of a coordinated entry approach where there's just a single point, and then we kind of decide what funds are most appropriate based on the owner, the type of repair that's needed and the circumstances.
Sorry, Kevin.
I think this is a great model. I really think don't reinvent the wheel. We've got an infrastructure in place that's built on. I think it's really great. Particularly with somebody that has this level of housing experience. My question is, it's a 1 year. Are you envisioning the capacity to do this again next year? Because they're going to be ramping up a whole staff person. Do you think there has the potential for continuation?
So I do. I don't know what the land bank initiative funds will look like and what the priorities and objectives will be. But the other piece of this is also improving coordination between these repair program funds and the city's homes program as well. So the other piece of what they can do is start to look at these city-owned properties and start to now have a rehab specialist that has been hired on to do these repair services, go out, evaluate these properties, sort of conditionally approve them for whatever buckets of money are available based on, you meet these criteria. Then the realtors who are working with the city can then advertise these incentives. So I think that there's a reason for BCNI to retain this type of person. We're just kind of providing the seed and the
Gotcha.
reason to get it started.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Great.
Any other questions? If not, can I get a motion to approve?
Motion?
A second? All those in favor, indicate by saying aye. All opposed, nay.
Aye.
Yeah, so thank you very much. Okay, second item for our consideration is the Van View townhomes for us Northsiders. This is the first new development. Northside Village obviously was a big redevelopment of the existing Inc. Village, but this is the first new development in the north side of Schenectady in probably 50 years.
Okay.
And substantial investments being made by Nally Homes, Big Clean Living, that I know that we've talked about this in the past and what we're doing. And this is action for us to expand the initial offer, which was build the model, get it under contract, and we would help with the remaining. Kristen, can you
Yes.
summarize from there?
That was an excellent summary. But so the project from its conception, was 10 townhomes. We committed to $100,000 to help get the model home built to try to get some proof of concept, right? That this would be a popular housing type that folks would want to buy in at the price point. And so what we are considering here is an additional subsidy for up to 8 more units. At up to $54,000 per unit. And that would, on a sales price not to exceed $299,900. That sales price is affordable to someone making between 100 and 120% AMI. So again, trying to meet that missing middle piece and expand upon subsidies that are available to folks who wouldn't qualify for some of those other subsidy programs that are available. And these would have a deed restriction on them for 5 years for that affordability piece. So we're also making sure that we're maintaining the affordability. Questions, anything else, folks? The project itself has not changed, just sort of expanding our involvement. Oh, and important to note, they have entered into 3 contracts. So they already have 3 contracts for these homes based on the model home. And there's been a lot of interest. I've been following the listings online. There are lots of saves, lots of views. They're getting a lot of interest. So just thought that was worth noting.
And I'll ask a clarifying question, just so we're not releasing funds until a unit is under contract.
Correct.
Okay, so this isn't enrichment of a developer who's putting a substantial investment into a community. This is under contract, and then we hit a target price not to exceed. So this isn't, here you go, and if you sell for $350, good for you. It's $299, that's the sale price.
But we did raise the cap. We did raise the cap by 22,000.
I don't think so.
The cap,
You said 53,000.
54,000 per unit.
I think that's where we were all the way.
Is that where we were
Upper-
originally?
yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah, this has gone back a little ways. So I appreciate,
But the resolution says 300,000,
not to exceed.
not 299.
You're right.
It does. I can amend that. I'm sorry.
Absolutely. No, thank you. I want it to be 299 something. I agree.
Yes, agree.
So this drives, quality ownership, somebody at 100% AMI, so I think that's a good investment target. We're not, driving the price all the way down so that it's not, this is affordable and yet workforce affordable is what I guess I would term this as. Kathy, any questions?
No.
No, okay. If there are any questions, could I entertain a motion?
First, you need the amendment.
Okay, so now,
I move to amend the cap 299, to 299,000.
900, I think, wasn't it?
299.9.
okay, as amended, as Mr. Berlant indicated,
You need a second.
I get a second as amended. Thanks. All those in favor indicate by saying aye, those opposed nay. Aye. The motion carries. Thank you, everyone. Good project for the North Side of Schenectady.
You approve the amendment, you approve the motion.
Okay.
Different process.
Okay, I did approve the amendment?
Yes.
Now you're saying now I need to approve the motion and ask for the vote again?
Yes,
Okay, as amended, can I get
So moved.
so moved?
second.
Okay, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, the resolution 26-12 is moved and approved. Thank you.
Thank you always for your sharp proofreading, Joe. I need that.
Oh, Joe. Okay. 2026-13, this is 333 Germania Ave. I think this is adopting another project plan, right, with BCNI,
Yes.
please summarize.
Yes, so the general project plan, so BCNI has undertaken a project along Germania Ave and Schenectady Streets, which did originally include 333 Germania. This project was long in the making. The costs had gone way up, and it became infeasible to do all of the properties. This one in particular has really severe abatement issues that are well exceeded the cost of the other buildings. And so this one was excluded from the project. But now, as they have renovated all of the other houses on the street, this is standing out as a significant eyesore. It's becoming an issue. It was becoming an issue of people trying to gain access to it. And so BCNI approached us to ask if we would assist them in some stabilization and securing of the building, which involves removing the dilapidated front and rear porches, resecuring all of the access points, and removing a significant amount of debris from the property. And so their total costs were just under 14,000. And so we are asking essentially to contribute no more than 7,000 to that project.
Any questions?
No question, but I think it's noteworthy to say that the city is also providing additional funding to support the rehab of Germania. We recently provided money for asbestos removal and to assist in the sidewalk repair.
Great.
Great, thank you.
Is that part of the 14,000 estimate or is that
No,
about?
ours is over 200.
Okay. So that's an additional. Oh, thank you.
And if I heard what you said, it's come an impediment to the overall project because people are like, what's going on here?
Yes, it's, you wash one wall in the house and then you notice all the fingerprints on the rest of the walls. That's what's happening here.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll second. Second. All those in favor, indicate by saying aye. 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 Sure, let's move. Thank you. Next resolution, 2026-14, this is 313 Schenectady Street. Again, another project plan with our friends.
Yeah, so this is with Habitat for Humanity. So we recently acquired 313 Schenectady Street as part of the infamous Alhock Schenectady 40 group of parcels. We had originally envisioned doing a renovation of this structure, which was it was a 3-unit brick building. However, in the process of how long it has taken to acquire these properties, the structure was badly damaged and was ultimately condemned and ordered demolished by the city. We do not have a proposed, the land bank have a proposed use. It's not appropriate for a crosswalk, it's not large enough. And so I reached out to Habitat for Humanity. They've done a number of other single family houses along that street. And asked if they were interested as they were looking ahead for project sites, and they jumped on it, got me an application the same day. And so this is a resolution both to approve the transfer of the property as well as to authorize a grant of up to $50,000 for the construction of a single family home on the lot.
What do we think about Habitat's capacity right now? 3 on Rankin, this one, another one we're about to move on. Do we feel comfortable that?
This is contemplated for like 2027.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Okay,
Yeah.
so not biting off one they can chew, not that they do, just making sure they're not.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And I think because of the other development that they've done there, they have like a baked house model, a plan, this is what's going to go here, and it'll match with the character and everything else on that side of the street, which is great.
Good use of funds and capacity that exists, like I said, with our friends, and with Habitat. Any questions?
The only question that I have is the next one is different property, but exactly the same type of house. As to why we don't consolidate it into one resolution. Because there's no difference, same dollar amounts. The only difference is the address. And I would simply added the whereas, the whereas, for the zoning clause. I would be able to do that. I'm just.
To be honest, for accounting purposes, it makes it easier.
Yeah, no, I think we keep it separate. I think we can isolate. I think if we did have to pull a resolution back, we're not now breaking out one over the other. A good call for efficiency, but I think this is better for accountability. Any other questions? Can I get a motion? A second?
Second.
All those in favor, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you all. Last resolution for our consideration, as Mr. Berlant just said, similar project, resolution 2026-15. This is at 1233 Main Street in Rotterdam Junction, so spreading out a little bit in the county, another Habitat project.
Absolutely. As Joe mentioned, it's very similar. This property we acquired several years ago. And up until very recently, the only offer we'd ever received on this property was from a neighbor who offered $100. and sort of did so very flippantly in an email that I found, never actually filled out the application. But then about a month ago, I got a phone call from a person who had purchased the home next door, asking if the property was for sale, and I sent them the application, and they sent it back to me. And it had a number of things in it that were questionable. So I went out and kind of did some digging on what the use of the property would be and the entity that was considering it, as well as looking at the renovation that they were doing on the house that they built next door. And what I discovered is the entire contents of the house next door was laying out in the yard, not contained by a dumpster and not, properly secured in any way. And so in knowing that we needed to consider, having disposing of the property and this offer, I, reached back out to them and I said, I have some concerns about the condition of the property and about some of the information that you provided. And they stopped following up and, kind of fell off the radar. And so, again, Habitat had approached us looking for properties, and I said, you can go look at what we own. And they expressed an interest and put forward an application. And so I think that of the the offers we've been given to consider, that Habitat, meets all of our criteria. They'll put a single family, a homeowner in the property. It'll go back on the tax rolls. It'll be an improvement. The rest of that stretch of Main Street is residential. So I think it fulfills our mission and it'll work really well. And this property does actually cost us quite a bit to maintain compared to our other properties because of how far, kind of out of town it is, and it overgrows quite quickly. It's pretty wild. So this will be one that I will be happy to.
This is the flood damage property that we took down,
Yeah.
made a green, a lot. And then, so it's beyond our scope, but the house next door that you're referring to that wanted to purchase it sounds like it's maybe not the best maintained property, or you're saying it's going under its own renovation?
It is undergoing its
Maybe
own
a haphazard
renovation.
fashion?
Yes.
Okay.
The way in which that renovation was being handled gave me pause
Okay.
to.
Yeah, I don't want to cast aspersions because I don't know the situation, but I also recognize building a brand new house next to it is that,
Yeah.
good for the neighborhood. My first blush says yes. Hopefully the house next door gets rehabbed completely and.
We have coordinated with the town as well to go out and connect with that owner and encourage them to button up the site, if you will.
Okay, great. I'm glad we're compelling that improvement.
Is this the first Habitat project outside of city limits for the county? Okay. I didn't remember if there was one.
In 2024, we cut the ribbon on a house on Kramer Ave in Rotterdam.
Broadway, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
What else you got that? What?
Ask me where my keys are.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I have heard lunch. What? Lunch?
Yeah.
Okay, I need a motion and a second.
Okay.
All those in favor, indicate by saying aye. Those opposed, nay.
Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you, everyone. Okay, that is the totality of our resolutions for consideration. You have
I'm
some new
sorry.
business?
I missed the second on that. Who seconded?
Yeah.
Kathy, thank you. I wasn't fast.
Any new business to discuss? The old business.
I don't notice in the minutes there's any progress made on people whose terms have expired.
Always worthy of mention, Joe. Thank you.
Yes, which is why I keep my best figure.
Okay, every month. I want you to do that.
Do we have anything?
I don't think so. In all honesty, I think we've not heard back either way. So,
It's not really good for the length of time some of these,
understood. What about the next meeting? Do we believe, thank you, John. Do we believe that we need to meet again next month? Do you see more activity coming? Anything to wrap up about the Rankins or the Van Rankins or anything like that? Or
I
Try to
don't,
take this,
First-
couple months off in summer and just see how it goes.
I think that having our service agreement in place will allow us to get up and running with our property services stuff. And so I think probably June we could take off.
I think so too. I know I've got some holiday time in July coming, so I don't want to impede anybody, but I mean, I think if we've got a good pipeline of activity through these partnerships that we just resolved to support, I think there's plenty to do. I don't see.
I agree.
I don't see a big chunk of demo coming that we're gonna move, or, we're right in the meat of what we said we were gonna do now in this cycle. So I think we kind of let that percolate through.
Yes, I would say, I could push out potentially the demolition, like, award, but that would be the next thing that I'll need approval for. And as I have it planned right now, it would go live at the very beginning of June, and bids would be back like the last week of June.
Okay, so July is probably appropriate. So maybe
Yeah.
taking June off and July, and if it falls in line, you let me know when we think we need. And I'll tell you, so if I'm done with my July, I'm gonna be out for, I think, 6 days.
Excellent.
Haven't we usually schedule the meeting and then not cancel the meeting in advance? I think we should follow that procedure.
Let's follow what we've done in the past, sure.
So then-
You're right, and we usually have taken off either July or August. We've not had a meeting because we haven't had any activity.
So then our next regularly scheduled meeting would be June 16th.
We should keep that in the calendar.
Right.
And is that here or that's here? I think
That would be
it is.
here. Yes.
Okay, in other words, we'll wait for the executive director to identify whether or not there's business that the board needs to take up. If not, we'll look for a cancellation and the next date in July.
Yes.
Understood.
And we know at this point, we probably will not, unless something comes up, that we'll not have something for the other.
Correct. I will let everyone know by the day after Memorial Day, the 26th of May, if we're going to meet in June.
Great, perfect. Anything else? With that said, we will adjourn. Thank you for everyone's attendance.